Alright guys, how's it going? It's Mr. Extra here. Back at it again as always, guys. Back at it again as always. So, let's go ahead and jump right in. So, I wanted to do a video, right, on how to, different ways on how to combat the meta. You know, how to, like, what you can do to deal with the current meta decks that are currently crawling around. Now, meta deck is anything that's, in my opinion, either tier 0, tier 1, tier 1.5, tier 2. Tier 2 is kind of leaning a little bit towards rogue, but it really just depends, so to speak. So other than that, you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's get started. So first deck I want to talk about is Purrely. Now Purrely, if you guys have played against it, you guys know what it does at this point. It basically just uses a bunch of quick play spell cards to stack up their monsters, make a big unaffected Nor. They turn around and then they make they will do a bunch of spell speeds and use those to make happiness, and they'll kill you with the happiness. Now, first things first about Purrely. I wanted to start this one first because I'm going to go over the decks that I hate the most that are currently crawling around in the meta. So, Purrely needs My Friend Purrely and Street on the field for it to really recur. My Friend Purrely is the continuous spell, and then Street is the one that gives XYZ monsters that were Purrely monsters, especially some in that the same turn, target protection, right? So if you Ghost Ogre, you can Ghost Ogre My Friend Purrely and Ghost Ogre Street. That'll help. You can, when they use the because they have the black one and the white one in the main deck. The white one can do its effect multiple times, or it's reveal top 3, take a Purrely spell or trap, add it to your hand. Don't bother negating that. But you can Ghost Ogre either of the continuous spells. You can DD Crow, like the black one, what the black Purrely does, Purrely. It will target a card in the graveyard, one of the spells, and then it will try to XYZ summon with it. You can just DD Crow the spell in the graveyard, that'll stop it too. You can get rid of the Purrely monster itself, that will also stop it. Let's see, it hates Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre hurts it. Droll hurts it a little bit because, I mean, if you let this deck do whatever it wants, it'll stack into a big Nor with 3 sleepy memories underneath it. And then at that point, every turn, they're going to be drawing 3, 2, 6 cards, depending on if they're going to use the trap the same turn or the following turn to jump into their big tower monster named Nor, right? So Droll does hurt it to an extent, especially if they have to like Prospe into it and then you just draw them there. That really hurts. So Droll hurts. Ash kind of hurts if they get put in the weird spot. You can Ash My Friend Purrely, and that does slow it down, believe it or not. Or they might be opening just one spell and you Ash that, and that works too. Sorry guys, it's been a weird week for me. So Ash hurts it. Droll hurts it. If you shift through them when they start popping off and then all their spells get banished, it kind of hurts them a lot because it kills their recursion that My Friend Purrely and Street does when one of their Purrely monsters leave the field while they're both face up. So those both hurt it. Just general destruction to, like, if you pop the Purrely monsters before they get up into the Nor, that also makes it neg a little bit. Do not Nibiru, do not Kaiju this deck. It is a waste of time, especially, well, it's only good if they do not have Street and do not have My Friend Purrely on the field. Outside of that, it's bad. If they have those on the field and you nib them, they're going to just, both of those are going to trigger unless you can clear both of those too, and it'll start all over again. Also, like side deck options, Purrely loses the Cosmic Cyclone pretty badly. Erad, Anti-Spell. They don't like any of that. They don't like Floods. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the next really annoying deck we're going to talk about. Kashtira. If you've played before, or if you've played recently, you know what Kashtira does. Big banish deck. Fenrir is disgusting. Unicorn is disgusting. Arise Heart is going to get himself banned because he's basically Macrocosmos. Now, there are things you can do that hurt this deck as well. From my experience, anyways. Cosmic Cyclone is still pretty good for this deck, but it doesn't really clean it up because whatever you banish, which for this deck, you're going to be banishing the Birth or the Wraiths off, they can pull it back. They can't pull back Wraiths off, but they can pull back Birth because it's called Kashtira Birth. So, things you could do to this deck to hurt it. Lancea kind of hurts it. Don't bother with it, though. Droll really hurts it, especially if they have to Prosby and the Wraiths off, and then at that point you Droll them there, and then the Wraiths off's useless, and they better have a Unicorn in hand that's probably not going to search the Birth because you Drolled them. Let's see what else. Ghost Ogre also hurts them. Gamma is limited to 1 right now, so I mean the Gamma package does work, but it also doesn't work at the same time. But I mean, hey, if you have Gamma in hand and your driver's still alive, and then they do the Arise Heart, where the Arise Heart effect where something gets banished and it has to go underneath it, or you get to attach material or add material. Mandatory. You can just Ghost Ogre that for 1. That'll do it. You could also Gamma it too. So those ironically do work. I'm pretty sure Ghost Ogre works. I'm pretty sure it does not have to go to Graveyard specifically. I can double check the text for that. That's not a big deal. But this deck loses to Droll, loses to any type of destruction. It hard loses to Nibiru guys. Like Space Rock's going pretty hard right now. Let's see, what else, because those are the 2 really annoying ones. So we're going to just go on down the list. Next we're going to talk about Dragon Link. Dragon Link is, it's like a 1.5 or a 2 right now, but it's just next on my list, so we're going to go ahead and talk about Gitterwolf. This deck loses to Nibiru at the right time. Droll, DD Crow. Ash Blossom doesn't do anything to it. Effect Veiler kind of doesn't do anything to it because it also plays it too. And then Shifter. If you're talking about just hand traps, if we're going with board breakers, you can Super Poly will clean up a dragon board pretty quickly. Lightning Storm, depending if you're able to get it off, but you're gonna need to I'd Lightning Storm back row instead of hitting the monsters because Dragon Link, the entire deck procs off its regain going off multiple times, and it's Magma searching on both players' turn to get double recursion. So imagine that it's like, so, you know, Dragon Link setting up board, they do the regain and everything, they put out Magma, they draw a card off regain, right? They get their search on end phase, that's 2 cards, right? And then let's say they Chaos Space, 3. And then they banish 1 from, they do the Chaos Space second effect. Shuffle back, draw a card. That's 4 cards they just got in their turn. Turn 1. During your turn. If they go in the Spears, which, I mean, 90% of the time we do go into Spears game 1. They're like, we're going first because it's a safe bet. Chances are they're going to be getting another card at the end phase because of the Magma again. And they're going to draw another card because of Regained as well. So that's 2 more cards on your turn as well, too. So Droll really eats this deck up. Shifter really eats the deck up. Evenly Match does, but I mean, they can put out Savage or Barone. But Evenly Match doesn't like full blown clean it up, not usually, unless you just bait the negates, because that works on anything, guys. Let's be honest here. Any type of Floodgate, Tikaboo works, Skill Drain works. Skill Drain kind of works, but you can out both of those with Spears because you just send Spears for cost for its own effect, and then it resolves both its first effect in graveyard and triggers the second one. But yeah, just generic board breaker stuff. Dark Ruler works on anything, so that's the reason why I haven't even really mentioned it. I just want to give some tips and tricks on how to like stop these decks right now. Next on my list is Chimera. Now Chimera is a new deck from Dueling Nexus. It's been getting a lot of tops, so I want to talk about it, guys. I want to talk about it. So, how Chimera plays. Chimera does fusions during your turn with Chimera Fusion. It will cycle Guardian Chimera on and off the field. This entire deck loses the D barrier if you can do it. If not, it loses to Droll. It loses to Shifter. Imperm at the right time can stop a lot of stuff. If you Ash their starting play, which any good D-Link, well not D-Link player, any good Chimera player, their starting play is usually a special, like normal summon Sword Knight effect, send us up the graveyard, special summon the first fusion monster they usually start off with to do the hand rip on end phase. You're just going to want to Ash that right there. Or if they're playing the Patchwork Engine, let them walk into a nice Droll Lockbird. But they really ought to lose that kind of stuff. Super Poly also works on them. Granted, the deck itself does play it. Plus, you're going to see a lot of Brandon variants running around for this deck right now. Any generic board breaker will work to an extent. most of the monsters for this deck or for Chimera, they have protection from battle because they're illusionist monsters, so they just can't be destroyed by battle. So basically, they can build a whole board, and none of them get protected from destruction unless it's like Guardian Chimera and Poly in Graveyard. So you could literally just like drop a Dark Hole or a Raigeki on them, and 9 times out of 10, you're gonna clear the whole board, unless they Chimera Fusion into a Guardian Chimera with a Poly in Graveyard just to draw some cards and just to have a body on the field. So that deck loses to a lot of stuff right now. It is seeing a lot of play, but I figured I'd talk about that one too. So let's go to the next thing on my list. We'll go to the other deck I play real quick because I got like Branded and Labyrinth and Sprite and stuff to talk about too. Let's go ahead and talk about Mannadium real quick. So Mannadium is tier 2 right now, unfortunately. But my spiel about that is if you're playing against Mannadium, right, and you want to know how to beat it, simple, draw, shifter, Ghost Ogre, or the Calarium, like the Peaceful Planet Calarium. D-Barrier works too, your generic stuff. Infinite Impermanence will work as well if you hit the right thing. Like if they go into, like say if they do the climb up and then they go into the Lightheart and they're trying to get Rectphobia, imperming that means that it'll hurt a lot, and they got real greedy, so they wanted to go get the field spell to try to like pretty much throw an additional synchro monster on the board. Impermanent Crimson Dragon keeps them from doing the Calamity Lock, or you can just super poly it. The Calamity Lock's going out the window, guys. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's not staying around. It's not super consistent, and it requires way too much resources for it to be super consistent. But let's see. It just loses to a lot of your generic hand traps. 2-card combo deck. It's relatively easy to stop if you know where to stop it at. I don't have too much more to really say about that. I mean, post Age Overlord, that's probably going to be a lot better, hopefully. But next, let's cover Branded. So Branded's simple. I don't have too much to say about Branded when it comes to like how to beat this deck. Go first. And if you don't go first, Ash Blossom, Branded Fusion. I don't care what Branded players have to say. That stops 90% of their deck still. It's like, oh, well, they got Cartesia, they have this, they got Branded Red. Cool. The Branded Fusion gets you more resources than any of those cards. So you could stop Branded Fusion. If they're trying to do Puppet Lock, you can either A, Bestial the Puppet out the graveyard because people say Puppet Lock's not happening anymore. You're full of shit. People are trying to Puppet Lock on Mannadium. That should tell you a lot. But Ash Branded Fusion. You can Bestial the Gimmick Puppet out of grave, or you can just bell the action that Sanctifier does to try to throw it on your field. That works too. All that'll work. Plus, D-Barrier, Shifter doesn't work. Imperming, double Imperm will get you pretty far because you can Imperm a Luber, and then say if they go Branded Fusion and like Albion or Labellion, you Imperm that, and that'll end the turn most of the time too. So let's go on to the next thing. Next on my list is Labyrinth. Labyrinth is still around. It is not seeing as much play. But this is just Trap Deck. This loses to the same stuff Trap Deck stuff loses to, right? Duster, Cosmic Cyclone, Eradicator. That's it. That's all you need to know. Duster itself, and they don't have Lord of the Heavenly Prison. So if they set 5 pass and you Duster, and then they don't have Lord, it forces all their stuff out, and then say they have like a big Welcome or Welcome Labyrinth, and you just Ash that, you just won. Like, it's one of the reasons why I quit playing the deck for the time being. But, yeah. So, Labyrinth is so-and-so right now. But, it's, like, these are just, like I said, it's just tips and stuff on how to deal with certain decks, depending on how your locals is or whatnot. Let's talk about Salamangreat Great next. So, Salamangreat Great with the new stuff, the deck is kind of disgusting. I haven't played against someone in person who was, like, playing, like, the updated version with all the new stuff, but it loses to the same stuff that it was losing to before. So, I mean, Phantasme would help here, but no one's playing that. I haven't seen anyone play that card in like 2-3 years. Remind you, it is like 2023, so it's been a while. Loses to Droll, loses to Nib, your generic board breaker stuff, Dark Ruler, Evenly Match, the usual stuff, but basically just keep the deck from searching, Imperm the Spinny, don't let them get their field spell, and then they won't get very far. Loses the Floods too, like most things. Let's talk about Sprite now. The Sprite has, like, I played at locals that Sprite's, it's not really dominant. There's just like 1 or 2 people who play it at this point, but they do click and echo now, where they like to look at your hand and then they just link off this dolphin and then they put it on your field, which reveals your hand, and then they just try to play around your hand. But Sprite's still pretty easy to deal with. Again, this is I hate to say it, guys, this is a dice roll format. Like, I don't even know, I hate these formats personally. It is 1000% a dice roll format, guys. I don't know what else to say about that. But Sprite loses to the same stuff. Nib them if they get greedy and don't make gigantic till later. That'll work. And double imperm will get you pretty far too. Evenly mash, like your better basic stuff. They don't like Tikaboo. You can lock them into any of their side pieces with Rivalry, for example. Just generic floods work on it too, right? And then yeah, you just droll. Shifter's a hit and miss, depends on the Sprite player. But Droll, Mourner, Ghost Ogre, Bell to an extent, but that was bad. Bell only used to work when Elf was a thing, and thank God it's fucking not. Alright, next on my list, and this is just, I'm just talking about certain things at this point, because I went through all like the decks that I consider like that are up in the meta right now. Let's talk about Unchained. Unchained is easily 1.52 right now. I want to say 2 because like Unchained is doing relatively decent right now, and the only reason why is because we're in a meta where it is a lot of banishing cards and telling your opponent no, and then using hand traps. So it's a hand trap format with, you know, cards getting banished because the best deck currently is Kashtira, and you know, Rise Hurt's annoying. But Unchained is relatively good in this meta right now because it just does a bunch of destruction effects. It likes to destroy some stuff, and it can tag out, so to speak. So, Unchained, there's a lot of ways to deal with Unchained. Okay, first off, you can Bestial the Yama, the Link 2, out of the graveyard, which slows them down a little bit. You can DD Crow it. They will try to destroy the back row. You can Cosmic their back row before they destroy it, or force them to use it early. That will do pretty good too. Ghost Ogre works as well, but I mean Ghost Ogre actually helps them, so you don't want to do that. Mourner works. Most of your standard stuff works. Kaiju's work. Nibiru works. Let's see. If you are playing a Synchro deck and you can make 10s, the Ice Jade Jishmir, that'll work too, because if they can't destroy your cards, then they can't really proc, because it's all about destruction, and then Ice Jade just hands out free like destruction protection, right guys? But Unchained just, it's decent right now. Do I think it's gonna like extremely warp the meta? No. I think that as soon as people, because a lot of people got caught off by Unchained because they either did not play during the time Unchained was like around. Because when Unchained was around before, it was alright, and that was like Blazing Vortex, I'm pretty sure. And people just forgot what the deck does. Like, it's just a bunch of destruction removal. It's pretty good, and you can do some tag outs because Soul Rage, Soul Anguish. You can use your monsters as fodder for link material, so on and so on. Let's touch base with Vanquish Soul real quick. It's kind of falling out, kind of hard, right? So Vanquish Soul loses to their hand being revealed the whole time. So let's say Click and Echo, for example. Droll, Shifter, Ghost Ogre, Bell, Nibiru. They lose to all the hand traps pretty much, because the deck does a lot of flicking stuff on and off the field from hand. It does a lot of rotation, does some drawing. Pretty decent deck. All the monsters have janky effects, but I mean, if you can force them all to one type, well, like one attribute, so make them all into one attribute, then it actually makes it very hard for them to play as well, which is really useful. So like apparently wrong hole, guys. Don't breathe too hard, apparently that happens. Alright, but Vanquish Soul is hit and miss in my opinion right now. It's currently bottoming out of the meta. I got something in my throat today, guys. But Vanquish Soul, I think Vanquish Soul is going away. I want to talk about one more. We'll go like 2 more decks and then I'm done. Because this cough's starting to kill me. Okay, let's talk about Rescue Ace. Rescue Ace is it's an interesting deck. It used to it used to suck, but now since it got its new bigger monster, it's actually pretty decent. The people are still doing the Turbulence in a Dream, where they special summon out Turbulence and then they set the 4 cards and then they use the back row as control, so to speak. They put out their Hydrant. This deck loses to Shifter. This deck loses to Ghost Ogre at the right time, plus Emperor. Nibiru destroys this deck. Book of the Eclipse. Book of the Eclipse solos a lot of these decks right now if it resolves and gets to flip down the field, because you can use Book of the Eclipse Darkhold. Kaiju's work. Your most generic stuff. It's a pretty cool deck right now, but Rescue Ace I feel like is a 1.5 to a 2. Mainly due to like it requires a very big brain to play. But this video is mainly just giving you all tips and tricks on how to deal with these decks I'm talking about. Which, depending on your locals, you're dealing with. Everyone's dealing with at least one of these decks that I've mentioned. I've mentioned a bunch of stuff too. So, last one. I'm done. Tear. Tear's still around. This deck loses a Shifter, Abyss Dweller, Bystials. Nib does not work. Troll does not work. Board Breakers do work depending. Kaijus do work. You just have to keep them from shuffling stuff back and then keep them from fusing. Debarrier works. Window works. Just your generic stuff. Tear's been around for a while. It was literally the last huge format before Cash. So, that being said, that's about all I got for you guys. I hope these tips and tricks were really good for you. There will be more content coming. And new equipment as well, which I'll actually showcase the new equipment as soon as it comes in too. Let's see. Stuff I want to go over before this is over. There's a regional in a second. 9-2. It's in Louisville. We're going out to compete. I'm trying to get invites and shit. Hopefully I don't get any draws, because it's the only time I usually don't get my invite so far is me just either doing bad early in, which lately hasn't been the case. It's been getting hit with draws at the end. Come out and see us for Louisville. Come out and get your picture taken. Like, we'll put you on camera. Dude, like, we were very friendly. I try to tell everyone this. If you want to be on camera, you want to get in a little video with us, you can. You can literally slide right in. I'll let you, like, straight up. Come out and say hi. Be cool, you know, good stuff. And then there is, let me look at my little whiteboard over there. Columbus is on the 1st of October. Come out and see us for that too, for that regional. And we have a YCS for Indianapolis as well. So come out and see us for that too. And then yeah, that's about all I got for you guys. But hope you enjoyed the content as always. I've been a little slow on the uploads lately between me and my group because I've been busy working. I'm doing like 5 other things on top of this. So I'm doing this, like dispatching a little bit, some dispatching stuff. I'm doing stocks. I'm also working a full-time job on top of that. But hey, that's all I got for you guys. Hope you like the content.